Next on 3, 2, and 1.
Our next guest is a Shoreham Wading River graduate and the current head coach of the 2021, I want to say it again, the current head coach of the 2021 Suffolk County Team Champs. That's Coach Joseph Condon. I bet you like the way that sounds, don't you?
That has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing to say, and I've never had a chance to say it. So
well, not many people have, and I said it off air, but you know, we've talked numerous times. I've known you for a long time, and you do everything right at Shoreham, Coach. You do everything right. Everybody looks up to you. Everyone knows how hard that you guys work. You know, you teeter on Division I, Division II. You know, whether you are Division I, Division II, you always compete with the top programs. I mean, you know, we love Brentwood, obviously, but you knocked off, I believe, the largest public school program in New York State, one of the biggest in the country. And Brentwood, obviously, Coach Nappy does a great job. So you had a tremendous year this year, you know, and, you know, really two of the best teams in the county were from small schools, right? You had a barn burner with Glenn, right, during the season, if I'm not mistaken. You guys widened the margin a little bit, but if you look at those matches, certainly could have went either way. And obviously wrestling Belport. So look, you had a tremendous run, and I know that there's a lot of folks along the way in your career, you know, that helped get you to where you are. But you know, 2021 team champs. So right off the bat, Coach, again, I've known you for a while. How did you get involved in wrestling, right? So I think about, you know, the middle 80s. I think of like some nightmares when I start thinking about some of those names that you guys had, right? You guys had a tremendous program. How did you gravitate? I think it was Coach Trendruski was the head coach at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
He was the middle school coach.
A middle school coach, right? Who was your two things? How did you get involved in wrestling, and who was your head coach?
I got involved in wrestling. My three cousins were all Rhode Island state champs and wrestled at Rhode Island and New Hampshire. So they sort of introduced it to me. And I was sort of a hyper kid. I got in a little bit of trouble, not anything serious. So my dad was like, you got to go to wrestling. And of course, Jendrewski was running a clinic. Yep. I think that was 4th grade, and we did some clinics. They didn't really have an established kid wrestling program. So that's where I started. And then in middle school, Paul Jendrewski was just 13 years in a row. He didn't lose a match. He had 90 kids on the middle school team. Everyone did it. And he made it important. You know, every kid did it. You didn't have to be the greatest athlete. And, you know, all the neighboring schools, it was big rivalries. It was really fun. And, you know, then after Paul Jendrewski, obviously Rocky Davey was my coach in high school with Paul Cathy. Fantastic coaches. Rocky was the kind of guy you didn't want to lose for. You wanted to win for him. You didn't want to disappoint him.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, during that time, did Shoreham have a football program during that time?
No, not until I think the mid '90s.
Right. So Matty D's just bringing up some stats here. So just to put in perspective, Brentwood has approximately 4th, and again, I'm not knocking Brentwood. I love Brentwood. You know that. Brentwood 4,800 students from I guess in 9 through 12. Shoreham has 800. So 4,800 to 800. I mean, it takes a special team and a special program to do that, right? You know, able to accomplish that.
Everything's got to work out, you know, no injuries. A lot of things in all those matches had to go almost perfect to work out, like almost like a movie script ending, and everything just fell into place. I can't even bring up at least 10 or 12 matches finished in the last seconds against a really good Belport team, a really good Glen team, really good Brentwood team. And it all just, everything fell into place, including all 5 seniors in the finals that I've had since kindergarten, all got pins in the finals.
And yeah, I mean, I talk about this, you know, we at Sable, we I don't say obviously, but we have a pretty good football team here at Sable. And I talk to the football folks, and I say the difference between, and obviously it's tough to make a successful football team year round, but you could have, you know, 2 guys that weigh 180 pounds, and one of them could be your left, you know, inside linebacker, or your strong side, your weak side, and the other one could be your left side linebacker, your weak side linebacker. Only one of them could probably start in wrestling, right? So everything kind of has to fall into place from, you know, now I think we're down to 13 weight classes, right? Yes. So everything's got to fall into place, and it's really magical. Again, I'm not saying you didn't put the work in, obviously, and we're going to get into that. What was your goal? I mean, I know that you probably believed that you had a special team this year. What was your goal, kind of, you know, pre-COVID versus, and also once we finally did know we were going to have a season? What was your goal for the team?
Wanted to be the state dual meet champs, and I wanted to send as many kids to the States and possibly get a few champions or a few high place winners. and I thought we had a realistic chance to do it because this year it was the top 2 kids in the section. If you made the finals, you were in. And
Right.
then, everything hit and everything just vanished. The school wouldn't let, no one was allowed to train anywhere. There wasn't even school going on. Everything was remote and it looked pretty bleak. But they held on. We trained in the off season as much as we could. And when we got the word, it was a sprint for 27 days.
So coach, you obviously took over for the late coach Don Jansen, God rest his soul, and we talked about him, and he was always gracious to me. I love that guy. He was really nice to everybody, right? I think he changed a lot of lives, and I believe including yours in terms, and certainly helped you coaching. You've had 2. I know obviously you had TJ Fabian, right? And then you had Stephen Keith, right, as well, right? Right. So so you had 2 individual state champs at a school that has around 200 per grade. Not only did you have state champ, they're both multiple-time county play. These guys weren't one-hit wonders. I mean, multiple-time high county place runners, Eastern state champs. Stephen Keith was, I believe, an All-American, right, in college, right?
Yeah, he plays for Harvard. He was an NCAA.
Right. So we haven't had too many of those, right? So that's the other thing I want to talk to you about. I think that when I think of Shoreham, I think of you guys sent a ton of kids to elite colleges, right? So the service academies, Ivy Leagues, right? So I'd love to hear about some of that. How does that make you feel?
I've been fortunate to have besides some great wrestlers, they're great students, a lot of them. I mean, Johnny Keck was the captain of the Naval Academy team. He's in San Diego in the U.S. Navy. Stephen Keith, obviously from Harvard. TJ Neidhart, TJ Fabian, a lot of other kids.
You're giving me nightmares right now, Coach. Listen to all these names.
They were just Chris Maloney, who only loss in his senior year was to Piccinini in the finals. He wrestled. He was an All-American for Vogar. Then he went on to wrestle at UB, and he's my assistant coach now. One of my assistants, TJ Fabian, national champ in high school.
Yep.
He was and he went on to wrestle for Coach Petrovich at LIU Post, and he's one of my assistants. And these guys just keep coming back. It's obviously the 2 Jansen brothers. Danny Maricola wrestled at Cornell and was a starter for 2 years. There's just so many great kids, and I've been lucky to have some kids that are also good students.
Well, I know that there's definitely luck involved, but Coach, a lot of it has to do with you, really, and what you do, and the example that you set, and the fact that you do it the right way. And maybe this is the first team county title, but you guys are in the mix every year. I mean, obviously we all have down years, but you guys year after year provide a winning product and really represent that community very well. And I hope you know that. What's next? Obviously you had the handful of seniors. What's next on the horizon in terms of Shoreham? Look, I hope that, people might think that they may not agree with me. I'm not 100% convinced that we're going to have a regular season next year. I'm not saying that I don't want to, or we should. I'm not 100% convinced that we're going to have a season, that we had a few years ago. But what is your feeling on kind of the next 3 or 5 years? What are some of the goals that you'd like to accomplish?
I'd like to, continue to get guys the highest place winning possible to achieve all their goals, obviously, and still, don't settle. Do the best you can. Don't be complacent because, in Suffolk County and New York and Long Island and other parts of the country, there's a lot of kids working hard. There's a lot of good teams. Even in the small schools, there's a lot of good small school wrestlers that they're working hard too. And if you sit still, they're going to catch up or they're going to pass you by. We'd like to win the tournament again.
Well, I believe that. I believe that you will, Coach. I mean, look, just in your area, right? Mattituck, Rocky Point, Shoreham, Miller Place. There's been Prof has had a resurgence.
Yes.
Comstock had a good couple of years. What's in the water over there? I mean, really, if you talk about that, whatever it is, Matty D will check me on my geography, but that 10 square miles or 20 square miles, literally, that's some of the best wrestling in the country. Square mile wise. What's in the water? What's kind of the secret?
I don't know. Just there used to be a lot of kids at the same rooms. Like I used to open the room when I first started at Shoreham with Don Jansen. I'd open the room on Thanksgiving and we'd have Mike Torriero, Jesse Jansen, Ryan Bernholtz, and Maurer all together on a Thanksgiving morning. It was a pretty good room. And we had a lot of those situations. It's just a good group of kids and they had good partners. And now there's even a lot of local clubs as well as high schools, I think.
For sure.
And the competition brings out the best, I think. There's a lot of rivalries.
Now, I want to talk to you about, you've been, I don't want to make you feel old, but you've been around a while, coach. A couple of questions I've asked some of the coaches that have a bit of a resume. What is your feeling? Look, I know that, we have the UE duels. That's kind of, actually, I think it still exists, but it's in a different form. Now we have the advent of the New York State dual meet championship. What's your kind of position on that in terms of, you talk some people, look, there's a lot of people all for it. I am one of them, but I also understand the other side. Some people get nervous about kids getting injured. And, when do you put it? Do you have it at the beginning of the season? There are sections that have that, I believe section 9, at least for a while, had their dual meet championship in the beginning of the year. Some sections like us have it at the end of the year. What's your position on that? I'm just curious.
I like it where it is. I mean, injuries are injuries. You can't really time them, but I think the kids are ready when they do it right now.
Yeah.
I would love for that to continue. I wish they had it earlier, because I think there would have been the New York State Cup was a great thing.
Yeah.
But when it was a sophomore, we finally got in and they canceled it and they never did it again.
Right.
You want the best of high school wrestling? Long Island Wrestling Association's website brings you the best. Wrestling is one of the toughest blue-collar sports. The sport has tens of thousands of followers, and at the center of it all is the Long Island Wrestling Association, measuring the gravity of the sport. In 2002, National Hall of Fame wrestling inductee Steve Meehan created the #1 source for wrestling news in New York State. With contributors like Long Island Sports Hall of Fame inductee and historian Andy Slauson, the site is the most comprehensive wrestling website in the country for high school wrestling news. With in-depth analysis, entertaining facts, forums, and trending topics, this site has a treasure trove of historic high school wrestling information, with records dating back to the 1930s. There is no better source for high school wrestling coverage. Long Island Wrestling Association, keeping the wrestling world up to speed.
Around a while. What's your feeling on the reduction of, of weight classes? I'll give you mine first, so not to put you on the spot.
Sure.
I personally, I understand why, not everyone, look, Shoreham is a small school. Not every small school is able to field the full lineup, right? And you know that you guys travel around, and none of us like to see forfeits, right? But we went from 15 weights, right? We had, it was requisite that 285 was a required weight. 98 or 99, I forgot what it was a required weight. But during our time, we had 91, right? Now the lowest weight is 102, which really ends up being 104 at the end of the year. What's your feeling on 13 weights and less opportunities? I know it's a tough question, but you're a tough guy.
I think for a lot of teams, it's good. We
Yeah.
have never had a problem filling the weight classes. I don't know why exactly. I wish I could take credit or I could tell you an honest reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, 13 weights this year sort of helped us. We lost 3 seniors, and the way they fell into the lineup and the way people filled, it was really like losing one because of the merge of the weights. But the more wrestlers, the more weight classes, the more opportunities for the kids.
For sure.
We only have 2 classes in New York, compared to some other states.
For sure. Now, will you be sending, you had some top guys this year. Will any of your guys going to be participating in, obviously we don't have an official New York State tournament, but I know Frank Popolizio, obviously, in terms of all the things he does. Will you guys, what's your position on that tournament? And will I see any Wildcats at that tournament?
Yes, we have a bunch of guys going. See if they're healthy, see how they feel. I'm all for it. I just talked to Frank on the phone about 3 weeks ago about trying to make sure we got some guys in. I think that's great. I think Virginia Beach is great.
Yep.
The kids have to get something because now there's no state place winner.
Right, right.
And the dead period for Division I is still, what is that? It was just delayed until May, I believe.
Yes. It's been back and forth for sure.
They need to be seen. All these other states are having state tournaments. They're having all these and I think it's great what Journeyman did and had the state tournament. It's not mandatory, but it gives the kids an opportunity to go and to wrestle. And New York's got some talented kids.
I know.
Really talented kids. I mean,
I know.
And from other states, why don't we see them more on the national stage? And, I don't know why, but there's been some great champions here that, I mean, just Bellport alone and Brentwood alone, John Glenn, they have some great talented kids alone.
For sure.
And the whole state is even bigger.
For sure. What about, when I think of Shoreham, certainly in the past, I think a lot of freestyle, right? I know obviously when Coach Jansen, what's your position on freestyle. I think that anyone that's been around a while will say it's kind of slowed down. You know, we talked about Virginia, which is an off-season folk style tournament. You know, I know that you've sent, you know, maybe Super 32. So there's a more from our time. I'm a little bit younger than you, not much, but a little bit, right? There is less freestyle now than there was, you know, at that time. What's your position on freestyle? Would you like to see that come back, or you just think there's only so many things we can do wrestling wise?
I have personally loved freestyle. I was a county champ. I lost in the state finals. I loved freestyle. And I wish Scholastic would go a little more towards freestyle rules, a little. Yep. But you're right. There is less freestyle, a lot less Greco for whatever reason. My club was with Coach Mahoney at Sachem's club, because most teams didn't have a club when I was in high school.
Yep.
And they did a lot of freestyle and Greco-Roman with Jack Mahoney and all his people. And it was great. And it was the Empire State Games. It was all those outlets. I think canceling the Empire State Games sort of hurt freestyle and Greco, because that was a great experience for all the kids that got to go up. It was the mini Olympics.
Yep.
And I wish they would do it again. And a lot of friends of mine were big in it. And I think that could be part of it. I mean, but I think freestyle teaches a lot of good positions, and so does Greco. That could help a lot of the guys in wrestling.
No, me too. I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent. We could talk about. I remember going into that station room as a kid, and you're like, "Whoa!" I mean, all the names, you know, that room itself was an amazing experience. They had the, you know, certainly the camp, which I think you might have participated in too. I think we've talked about that. Yep. So I mean, that was amazing. You know, Coach, I think that you've had a lot of people along the way that have influenced you. You know, whether it was, you know, Coach Davey, your time at Brentwood, and Coach Panarello. You know, we talked off the air. You know, you saw the Coach Cuffey interview that we had, which I think was amazing. Right, he's an incredible human being. I know that you were one of his coaches, Don Jansen, Drandruski. Tell us about some of the coaches along the way that influenced you.
I wanted to be a wrestling coach mainly because of Coach Jandruski, Coach Davey, and Tony Perna, who was the longtime coach. His son and I were wrestling partners, and he was one of my best friends, and I wanted to be like those guys. I thought that was great, how they helped kids, they motivated kids. And then when I graduated college, I got a job at Brentwood, and Bob Panarello, I mean, he ran a great program, and I learned a lot. I learned about seeding. I learned about how to teach the moves, how to teach the kids, and how to treat the kids the right way. Because at Brentwood, and everyone knows it, anyone who knows wrestling knows how well they treat those kids at Brentwood.
Yeah,
and
it's a family.
Quality kids, and they're quality wrestlers.
Yeah.
And of course, Nappy was there, and the whole crew. Uncle Tony was there. Cuffey, I was there for Cuffey's last 2 years, I think, and he was a stud. Obviously, he was a great wrestler. Yeah. And then when I got to Shoreham Wading River, Don Jansen was great. Kevin Nohill's been my assistant coach for 15 years. He's fantastic. He does every facet of the program. TJ Fabian, Bob Bliss, Nick Fioretti, Chris Maloney, Ted Fabian was a coach, Rob Feast. All these guys were county place winners. Steve Taddeo, he wrestled at Missouri. Dave Cummings, and everyone knows Dave. He's a great varsity coach. And my kid coaches, Phil Archer, Mike Arena, Wayne Wilson.
Those are your kid coaches. I mean, just stop right. I mean, those are big names.
Olson,
I mean, it's ridiculous. You built the army over there.
Rob Fabian, all these guys. And I don't want to miss Rob Matthias. I don't want to miss any of them.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
And I don't want to miss any names because there's so many people that helped. You know, like every program.
Right.
Any way you go, Huntington, all the big ones.
Yeah.
And they're all great. I mean, everyone in Shoreham's been so positive with the program. We have people that just love it. I think I had about 1,400 texts and emails after the county championship from mostly alumni and a lot of other coaches who were very nice. You know, DJ Brocking and Nappy,
I was one of them. Yeah.
And all the people we wrestled, Cuffey, all the opponents. Which is rare in most sports. I don't know.
Well, you deserve it. Yeah, it is rare. It's a brotherhood. It's a fraternity. But Coach, you deserve it. I'm not just saying it.
It was and I was really mostly happy for the kids. Like 3 of the kids were like my nephews, godparents with each other's families. And I've had almost every kid in the starting lineup since kindergarten.
Wow.
And at that level, I remember there was a lot of talk. This could be a great team. You know, it doesn't always materialize. Different things happen. But when it actually worked and came out like that, I was just so happy for the kids. The next day, I almost couldn't believe it happened. I was by myself with my dog. I have a Dalmatian who can run like 30 miles a day.
What's his name? What's his or her name?
Storm. He's a boy.
Storm. Okay,
Yeah,
it was
he
the
runs
Storm.
all day. I wish he
Okay.
could run as much. So,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
plus my wife Linda, my 4 children, Ryan,
Yeah.
Ava, Gia, and Kaya. The
Yep.
girls are managers for the team. My son
great.
wrestled for me.
Yep, I remember. Yep.
They're all part of it, and they love most of the people in wrestling. And
Yeah.
it's just like at most of these programs, it's a big family. It's a tight knit community.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone in wrestling lives in Shoreham. I forgot all the people. I mean, you rather, if I had to name the top 50 names in Suffolk County wrestling, you just
We
named
have a
20 of them.
couple.
You just named 20 of them. I mean,
Yeah, and they're all around it, and they're
Yeah.
all nice guys, and they all just want to help. You know.
well, that's great, Coach. I mean, look, say it again. You do everything the right way. It's so easy to root for you guys. I mean, certainly coached against you. We had our battles. I think we came up on the short end most of the time. But obviously, you know, watching you from afar, you know, watching you interact with your coaches, your family, the alumni, I'm happy for you. I really am, Coach. And so
I
is everyone else.
appreciate it. It was a great run, and the
Yeah,
kids.
do it again.
The kids got their dreams come true
Yeah.
because you know all the work. You know what they sacrifice. You know what
Yep.
these kids,
Yep.
all these great wrestlers in Suffolk. It's great, and they all love wrestling, and we love it. And this is a great show. We love it. We love seeing all the highlights. And there's not many outlets for the greatest and the oldest sport in the world. I
Well,
don't think any sport. You know, you earn what you get in the sport. That's what I love about it.
Well, that's for sure. So, Coach, I think we have one of your athletes, Billy. If you could bring in Coach's athlete, and Coach, if you could introduce your athlete, I'd love to talk to Connor.
Okay, this is Connor Pearce. He's a 2-time county finalist, county champion 1 year, and he's a 2-time state entry. And he just had the match of his career, basically like, you know, Vision Quest and ending to Vision Quest, and couldn't be happier.
We just had Shoot on. I don't know if you saw that episode.
I
We just
did,
had
I
Shoot
did.
on, you know, so it's funny. I don't know if Shoot kind of got robbed. I want you guys to watch that. But Connor, how are you? We've been following you. I think Coach kind of didn't do you justice. You've had a great career. You were a leader at Shoreham. As I was telling Coach, super happy for you guys to win a team county title. I hope you realize, I don't want to make Coach blush, but I hope you realize how lucky you are to wrestle for Coach Condon and all the litany of army of coaches really at Shoreham. So kind of look, I get it. We had a short season, right? Coach will probably agree. We didn't even know if we'd have a season at one point. I think we even talked about that, but you guys were county champs. And what does that feel like, first of all, to be, you know, a team county champ? Yep.
It changed the whole attitude of the team. Being a small D2 team, we didn't think we would go far at all. And wrestled our first match, wasn't too good. And then we kept on progressing, our lead getting up more in dual meets, and the team realized we can actually win this whole thing. Then once we won the whole thing, it's everybody changed. Finally, like, matured. We knew that we actually had potential on the team. It was just game changing for the whole, like, freshmen up to seniors.
And you know, this is for both Connor and for Coach. I mean, I watched this. Obviously, you know me. I'm a wrestling junkie, Coach. You know, you had some of the equivalent of like three overtime games in a row, right? I mean, some barn burners. I mean, obviously you came out on top, fair and square, but you had some really tight matches. And I've been in some of those matches. I mean, they take a couple of years off your life. You know, Connor, walk us through that last 10 or 15 minutes of, you know, when Wrestling Brentwood, one of the best programs in New York State history, has so many accolades, right? We know, you know, Coach and I think the same of Coach Snappy at Brentwood, you know, class act, and his kids are a class act. What was that like? You know, walk me through, that finals match. You know, I wasn't there. I would have been, you know, obviously with COVID, we had to watch it online, which kind of stunk, but at least we did get to watch it. So Connor, you guys won a county title. You know, there wasn't a ton of spectators there, right? In fact, there probably wasn't many at all. You know, we didn't get to watch it in person. I would have certainly been there for that match. What was it like the last 5 or 10 minutes? It must have been gut wrenching. You know, obviously at a point you clinched it, but what was it like to be that? Tell us about the atmosphere on that bench.
Everybody was really hyped up. On the bench, I was looking at the score, doing the math, seeing what we could do, and it turned out 4 pens, exactly what we needed. And our 120 had to hang on for dear life, and he did. Then a lot of hype going into that match. Just we're not as possible, but the kid brawled. We had a big brawl for about a period and a half, and I calmed down, finally got the job done, and just, I don't even know. I was like starstruck. It was amazing.
Well, I see Coach smile from ear to ear.
It was
One thing I know
like,
about coaches is not many people better at the lineup card. So I'm pretty certain that, we can't predict the exact outcome of matches, but I'm pretty sure that Coach had the points written down probably 20 ways to Sunday on different pieces of paper, that whole day, leading up to it. And sounds like, in wrestling, it's not always about in tight dual meets. It's not always about winning. It's not always about getting bonus points. It's not always about getting pinned. It's sometimes doing your job against a kid that might be a couple of years older than you, a little bit more experienced than you, a little bit more competitive than you. And it's about, not getting pinned or not giving up those bonus points. And Coach Wright, I think if you look back on that box score, I bet you there's some unsung heroes.
There absolutely was. I think on both sides of the coin, because I had talked to the other coaches from Brentwood who were all friends of mine. I taught half those kids. They were in my school.
Right.
Our 5 seniors especially, Connor Pearce, Sean Miller, Jake Jablonski, Jake Eckert, and Dylan Blanco. I didn't realize they would all get pins because they had some pretty tough opponents.
For sure.
And it was their last high school match for all of them. And when we were down, I went and talked to my big guys, and they said, "We're doing it, Coach. This is our last match. We're letting it all hang. We're going to go out." And it's great when it actually works out. You could talk to kids, you could get in their head, but they trained real hard and they sacrificed. Every kid in that lineup, even some of the unsung heroes like Tommy Palumbo, who didn't get pinned or teched. That was a big difference. And he really works hard. He does his running every day. He trains in the off season, just like a lot of the other kids. And it paid off when you instill in it and when it works out, and many times it doesn't. So This time it did. So there's a lot of satisfaction for all the kids.
For
and
sure.
They really pulled together. It was a great team effort, and the kids just don't quit, because we easily could have lost to Bellport if one kid backs down in the third period, one kid doesn't finish his shot, one kid, because Bellport's a very, very talented team.
Very well coached, very talented team. Yep.
I think 1 through 7 in that tournament could have been interchangeable in the seeds. Bellport's not a 6th seed. They're a good team.
For sure. Connecticut, East Islip had a great run. Connecticut had all good teams. So Connor, what did you guys do different? Obviously I bet if I asked Coach 4, 5, 6 years ago, and I think I did, we talked about that you having we all like to think we're gonna have a big team coming up, right? And I think you knew about it, right? But what did you guys do this year, Connor? Anything differently, or is it that same kind of regimen and training? What did you do differently?
This year being with COVID, we all had a different mindset. Being supposed to be 6 matches until we found out we were actually going somewhere. We had to do a bunch of stuff like regarding to regulations, like rolling mats out, taping them every single day, cleaning them, teaching us discipline, showing like all the kids that are doing this, showing us that they have heart. They want to be here. And then that a couple years back, I noticed some kids don't want to be here. They're just here to just to goof around. But this year I saw this team actually cared. It was, honestly, I opened my eyes and was like, we can do something.
Well, Connor, I want to add one last question here for you before we let you go. What is it like, I think it changes for the rest of your life, and I think Coach will agree with this. What is it like now, when 10 years and you pull up that sweatshirt that kind of doesn't fit when you get to be Coach and I's age and we try to sneak it on, right? What is it like is it going to be like to wear that? What was it like, and what's going to be like to wear that Shoreham singlet and t-shirt or sweatshirt that's going to be at the bottom of your drawer in about 10 years? What's the first thing you're going to think of?
Family, not a team. The SWR being a D2 school, we're small. Everybody knows everyone. Like, we know family members, we know aunts and uncles. We're all family. We're not just a team. Like Brentwood, they're family too, but they have a large school. Everybody knows some, not all. We knew every single person inside and out. And just to put on the sweatshirt, knowing that a little D2 team that I consider family just did the impossible.
Well, you know what? It is possible, and it's possible because you guys do everything right, And I'll just reiterate again, super happy for you guys. You get what you earned in wrestling. No one gives you anything. And, you know, we appreciate your time, Connor. Enjoy being a, you know, team county champion for the rest of your life, because I don't know if you realize just yet what you guys accomplished. But again, you know, Connor, best of luck. And I think you're registered at 126 at Journeyman. So obviously we'll be looking out for that. We'll probably talk about you on a later show. And we'll talk to you soon, Connor. And Coach, if you could just hang around for 1 minute.
Sure.
You take care, Connor.
And thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great job, Connor. Coach, you know, look, you guys had obviously a fantastic year. It's a storied program. Tell me a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Tell me about who the folks, who the top 3 or 4, you know, folks that most influenced not only you as a coach, but Shoreham River as a program.
Well, besides many of the guys I mentioned already, you know, Rocky Davey, Don Jansen, Jendrewski, Tony, a teacher I had, Joe Ferreira. He was actually the first coach of the program, and he was really big with strength training. He instilled the drive in all the kids. He helped almost all my teammates with strength training. He wasn't the elite technician like Rocky Davey, but he was actually the first coach. Also, Jim Davey, we called him Pop Davey, who's in the Hall of Fame. You know,
Yep.
The LIU post room is named after him.
Yep.
He was my assistant middle school coach. So Rocky, my high school coach, brought his dad in, and he was an outstanding technician. And the kids had a lot of respect for him. They listened to him, and they wanted to win for him, as well as Coach Jendrewski. It was a great combination of coaches. And everyone knows Pop Davey. I mean, he was a big influence on all the kids. And, you know, he just passed away a few years ago. And it was a big, everyone was very upset about it. Also,
Me included, Coach, me included.
yeah, everyone who met him, he was royalty. He was right up there with Jumper Leggio and those big names and those famous people. And also, when I did kid wrestling for about 11 years, and then finally when I left, it was very tough to do varsity and kid wrestling. I had 2 guys step in, Mike Jablonski and Sean Petretti. They did that for a number of years, and a lot of these kids were with them. And then Chris Baumeister did it by himself for a year, and all the other guys I named as well. So we had a lot of people really help out the program, and it probably wouldn't be what it is today without.
Tremendous coaching staff. Look, a tremendous, you know, what's the saying? It takes a village to raise a child. I mean, you know, do you have a village of coaches? You've done a great job. You know, the other thing that comes to mind is, and we've talked a little bit about it already, is the amount of athletes that Shoreham has sent to colleges, elite colleges, not only send colleges, but has done extremely well. Talking about some of those guys, Coach.
Yeah, besides the Jansons and the big names and Stephen Keith, who were outstanding, we had Don Donnelly went to George Washington, Paul Tretner, Old Dominion, Eric Stroving went into pro baseball, Dave Butler went to MIT, the 3 Matsuis, Ken went to Boston University.
I always smile anytime I hear about the Matsuis. I start smiling.
Awesome.
I just start smiling.
To watch. Yeah. I mean, Ko Matsui beating Ketchum in the
finals, right?
6 seconds left.
No one thought that was going to happen. But
he went to Bloomsburg. His brother went to Penn State and wrestled right behind Prescott all 3 years. He was the backup. Jim Raffelt wrestled. He was a county champ. He wrestled at George Washington. Andy McNerney wrestled at Harvard and took 4th in the NCAA. Dave Butler wrestled at MIT. James Szymanski just finished up with Coleman Scott at UNC.
What a stud. He was a stud. Chris
Byrne wrestled at East Stroudsburg with Jack Kuvo. They had a pretty good group of guys. Jack Tadios in his last year. He was all EIWA last year at Naval Academy. Chris Baumeister actually went into NYPD and was a hero, emergency service unit, got all these, and he was at 9/11. Dean Huff wrestled at Ithaca. Don Paraglia wrestled at Wesley, and I'm just trying to remember all the names.
Yeah, Keck, obviously Keck at Navy.
Johnny Keck was the captain of the Naval Academy. Ryan McCready wrestled at Springfield. Chris Murtha was a really good wrestler a little bit before my time at New Hampshire. Eddie Troiano at Roger Williams. Joe Bennett, who was a 3-time league champ. He just finished his 3rd tour in the Army 82nd Airborne. And now I think he's going to medical school now.
Wow.
He's a great guy. I mean, Aaron Chinana was a county champ, wrestled at Columbia. Sal Zambri wrestled at William and Mary. Kevin Maloney wrestled for Volgar at Nassau. Then he wrestled at Buffalo. Chris Dollard was the captain of the U.S. Naval Academy team. He had about 160 wins, I believe.
Yeah, he's an all-timer. He was an all-timer for sure.
Yeah, Sean Murray wrestled at Maritime when they had a program as well.
Yep.
And among other guys. I mean, but they're all great guys, and a lot of them are my teammates. Some were after me, some were before me, and it's just great. And hopefully we're going to continue. I have some guys that hopefully are going to continue in the future going to big schools.
Well, Coach, one thing I wish we had one more match. You know, we just had Coach Diano at Massapequa. Obviously, they were, you know, the Nassau Dual Meet champion. You guys are the Suffolk champions. I can only wish it's not going to happen. Would have been a heck of a match. You guys have a great team, a great program, great team, and a great program at Massapequa. So I think it's a great way to end the season. Certainly a what if, but we appreciate, you know, you again, just to recap, you know, you guys are best team in the county this year. Obviously, you guys proved it in the Dual Meet Championship. One of the smallest schools in Suffolk County. Year after year, you guys are right there to win. You guys do everything right. I'm a big fan. You know that. That's Coach Joe Condon. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day. This is Joe Condon, coach of Shoreham River High School, Suffolk County Champions 2021. Don't forget to tune in and support 2-on-1 Wrestling with Mike Vetrano. Great show.